Another exciting episode of Tori's Tea Time Talk with God, where we spill the tea on the Word of God. And remember, you guys, follow me as I follow Christ. Share as you are led by the Spirit of God. And like if you like. So, with that said, no further ado, we're going to continue down the lineage of Cain, because we did not stop at Methusael. So we're going to get back at it in Genesis 4:18. And unto Enoch was born Irad, and Irad begot Methusael, and Methusael begot Methusael. So what does Methusael mean? We're going to dive right into that. So the Strong's number is H4967. And the Browns Drivers Briggs dictionary tells us that Methusael means who is of God. Who is of God. So this is the meaning of Methusael. And if we go and we look at the related word from the Browns Drivers Briggs, we see that it's a compound of two additional words. So we see 4962, which brings us to the ancient Hebrew. And you know how exciting it is when we can connect to the ancient Hebrew characters and its meaning. So we see that the first two characters, met, brings us to the word man, which means mortal. Correct? So we see mortal. So what man is of God is one way we can look at it. Or man who is of God, which is what Strong's tells us. So we have the mut, and then we have the H410, which is the L, the mut L. That's important. So we see that the letters in between is more like connecting us to the actual word. So that's where you're going to see more of your different parts of speech being used. So the main words is the met, which is man, subject, and L, which is what we're getting ready to look at here, which is 1012 AN, which means power, one who holds authority over others, such as judges, chiefs, and gods. And so at this point, to really find out more or to get an idea of who Methusael is, because remember, there's not a lot of information specifically about them. There's not any recorded scriptural events of what these particular people who are kind of a part of the genealogy, but we don't really see any in-depth information like we do on Cain and Abel, for instance. So what we can do is build upon certain things that seem to be indicative of the different genealogies. And one of those things is we begin, the information that it does give us tends to lead itself towards the road and the path that we don't want to take. We already starting off at not at a good start, where we're being removed from the presence of God, as Cain was removed from the presence of God. And then we see that, yes, now he's building a city named after his son, which means dedicated to God, but we don't really see, how that materializes. So now we're looking at the children of the one who a city was named after, and we're seeing where this trail leads. And so whereas we don't have much information about Methusael, and that L, I can tell you right there, that is like the same, that's from the same root of El as in Elohim. So it could go in any direction. And just to remember, names, the biggest value and understanding of names is that names can give you a good start, but ultimately we make our own choices. So you could have a name like David and you could be like an Ahab. You see what I'm saying? So it's not like the name is going to make you conform to fulfilling its meaning. But the name is certainly a start that can take you on the right path if you choose to embrace it. So we have Methusael, and Methusael begets Lamech. And so we're going to get a little bit more detail on Lamech. And Lamech's name means powerful. So so let's just look again. We see Methusael, which is who is of God, and or man who is of God, and we have powerful. Powerful man who is of God. Okay, so let's see what Lamech does. Verse 19. And Lamech took unto him 2 wives. The name of the one was Adah, and let's see what her name means. Ornament. And the name of the other, Zillah, shade. A ornament shade. And Adah bare Jabal. So who is Jabal? Stream of water. Now I want to point out something that we have seen a few times, but you'll notice something about it. One, this number H853, and you've seen it from the very beginning of our going through the Word of God from Genesis 1. But when you see that H853, it is, remember that in parentheses, because it's not going to be translated in your English scriptures. Over 7,000 times, this word is deliberately removed from our translation, and partially because the sages did not know what the characters meant. But it's a very significant word that is removed because is for us as believers in Yeshua, it takes us directly to the book of John, where he says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And then it takes us to Revelation, where he says that he is the beginning and the end. He is the Alpha and Omega. Now, it doesn't mean anything when we're looking at it in Greek, but that same translation of that Greek word Alpha and Omega is this equivalent of the Hebrew translation, which is Aleph Tah, Et, which is exactly what these two characters are. So again, it's a very important word. So we have the Et, Jabal. He was the father of such as dwell in tents, and of such as have cattle. So let's look at Jabal. He dwells in tents. We know Abraham dwells in tents. What does his name mean? Yabal. Yabal means stream of water. So it says here, he's the son of Lamech by Adah and brother of Jabal. And that word is gonna come up again. So Jabal becomes a popular word that is used. I want us to look at the related word though, which is 2988, which takes us to 1035 LN, which is going to give us the ancient Hebrew. Because remember, as stated on previous episodes, ancient Hebrew does not translate, the lexicon does not place the proper nouns in them. So you have to get to the root words to find out what the proper nouns that are behind the to find out what the not the proper nouns, but to find out what the characters are behind the proper nouns that are used. So we have 1035 L N. So we go down and we see L and then we see N. Yabal, a flowing body of water. And the characters is a yod, which is the picture of a man's arm or hand. In Hebrew, the hand is more than just the palm of the hand, and there is a character for that. But the the yod is the picture of like what we would call our arm and connected with our hand. And we need the whole arm connected with the hand to do what? To work. So that's what this character means, to work. So yod, then we have a bait. The bait is the character we see at the very beginning of the Word of God. We don't see it in the English, and we won't see it if we're looking even at the Strongs. We need an interlinear to see it where it actually connects it, because it's just a preposition. It's just telling you um, when something takes place, or in what state it takes place. So in the beginning. So bait means to be in. It also means house. And why focus on in? Because God is concerned with what is in the house. That is what makes it important. Which is hence mankind. The house was made for who? For us. So um, we have the work in, or the work house, and then we have Lamed. Lamed is a picture of a shepherd's staff, kind of upside down, if you will. The hook is on the what we call upside down, what we would call a cane. So it looks like a cane. So, but what it means, because a shepherd's staff, as we saw, okay, used by, and I'm sorry, y'all, I went way past my time, so this episode will probably be just available for us on YouTube. I'm not going to be able to put this on TikTok because it's over our 10 minutes. But Yabal, Lamed, it has to do with the shepherd, because this is what Moses used when he led the children of Israel out of Egypt. It also has to do with authority, because he revealed the authority by which he did what he did in using this cane as the Lord directed him. And that's very important. That is key. We have to do whatever we do as the Lord directs, because there are more than one source out there, and there's more than one source of power. And we see that in the book of Exodus, because what happens? We see that when he puts down his staff and it becomes a serpent, the magicians were able to do likewise. So just because there are wonders that are being done, just because there are signs, we are not to chase after any of those. In fact, the Lord said that those things will follow us. We're not to chase after those things. Because if we chase after the sign, if we chase after the wonder, we may get something, but it's not going to be from God. So, Yabal, which means to work the house of authority, or one can say to work inside the authority, the work inside the authority, the stream inside the authority, the flow inside the authority. Because we need to know what's influencing what's inside the authority that's speaking. And so Lamech has power, but what was the power to be used for? Was it to be used for Yah, or was it to be used for another purpose? And so, fortunately, the thing about Lamech in our story is that as we continue to read, we will get more details that will help us to understand more about the character of Lamech. But we will not, unfortunately, be able to dive into that in this particular episode. So, I appreciate you for listening, and I look forward to sharing more on the Word of God. I pray you all have a beautiful and blessed day in Mashiach. Shalom, shalom.